So this video has been a long time coming. I find it really hard to motivate to record the bad videos or the bad news videos. But I'm finally doing it. So I'm sorry for the delay. I know I kind of left you guys hanging there. So I think in the last video I said I might have a bladed ovum, and then wrote in the notes that I did. So we did. So it was a bladed ovum. My fertility doctor then referred me to my OBGYN. So I finally got in to see them like a few days after I got the bad news about about the bad news about the second ultrasound. But by that time, by the second ultrasound, so on January 5th, which was my birthday, I found out that we found out that it was probably bad news. And we waited a week, and then so the following Tuesday, I found out that it was definitely an bladed ovum. But before then, I started to lose my symptoms. So my breast soreness was starting to go away. I had already lost I never had nausea, but I kind of had like upset stomach. That was gone. Fatigue was gone. And I didn't feel well. But I was also really sad. So it's hard to know. It's hard to sometimes distinguish between the physical symptoms of depression and just not feeling well. So I saw the doctor. I got blood work done the following Thursday and saw my doctor on that Thursday, and she wanted to have an HCG done, which I had just done that Thursday, but a repeat on Saturday to make sure that my levels were going down. And we discussed the options, and she said basically we can just let it happen naturally, which could take months. Not months, weeks, sorry, but up to a month at that point. And so I was at like 7 weeks at this point, close to 8 weeks, I think. So, no, I was 8 weeks, sorry. It was like exactly 8 weeks. So then I could take a pill, so it's kind of like a chemical abortion, or I could have a DNC, which is like a surgical procedure. It's like 15 minutes, you go in, but they put you out and they scrape out your uterus and get all the tissue. And I just like done some research online and felt that I wanted to have it naturally. Like I wanted my body to just do its thing. I just felt like that was the healthiest thing. I've had so much intervention in this whole fertility experience. I just felt like, let's just let this one thing happen naturally. But it's hard, like you're waiting. It's like waiting for doomsday. So that Friday, I woke up in the morning and I felt awful. I felt really sick. I was lethargic and lightheaded and like slightly sick to my stomach. I felt really awful. So then I didn't know what was wrong. I just thought, I was like, maybe I'm getting sick, or who knows what's going on. I called my doctor and she was like, yeah, it's totally unrelated. My HCG, this is all over the place, on that Thursday was 1800. And then this was Friday. I didn't feel well. Friday night, I started to spot really light spotting, but it was dark brown. And then Saturday morning, I got another HCG and it was like 1700. So it only got down like 100. So it wasn't, I don't know what that meant. The doctor was like, at least it's going down. That means that, yes, like you're definitely going to miscarry, which was already, I already knew because first of all, I was spotting, and second of all, my symptoms had basically disappeared. And then, so I started to spot, and the doctor called, and I was still spotting on Saturday, but again, really, really light. And she was like, some women spot, and then they stop spotting, and they don't miscarry for weeks still, and you just never know. And we had talked, and we had decided that Monday morning, if the miscarriage hadn't really kicked in, I would take the pill. Mostly because at that point, I mean, I know that it seems like it was even less than a week than our, like, it was less than 2 weeks since we initially found out that the pregnancy was not going to go well. But that's like a century of having this impending doom and dealing with the loss and feeling like all of everything we had worked so hard for, and all that excitement of that day when I got that positive pregnancy test, and like having that play side by side with, I think I said this in the last video, with the with the finding out that that it wasn't going to be viable. It was awful. It was emotionally awful. I kind of wanted it just to be over so that we could heal, or like start healing. It felt very similar to my dad's illness, when we were just kind of waiting for him to die, and it was awful, and you don't want it to come, but you kind of want it to come, and so that you can start moving on. I don't know. It was just a crappy feeling. Not quite the same because my dad was alive, but still that kind of similar feeling. So anyway, so on Monday morning, I basically had stopped spotting. So it really made me feel like, okay, this is going to take forever. Like we're going on, it was like 8.5, I was 8.5, no, I was 9 weeks at this point. And so I'm just like, time to get things going. And so I took the pill at like 11 a.m. And the doctor was like, if it doesn't work by Wednesday, call me, because there's a chance that it doesn't work. And then you have to take another pill. And then if that doesn't work, then you have to do a D&C. So I thought, like, okay, it's going to hit me sometime tonight, And so then I had to do some errands. So I had to go to school, and I ran to school. And I was working for like an hour and a half, and all of a sudden the cramps kicked in. And so I did not, the other thing is that I had watched a lot of videos about other women who had miscarried, which is part of why I'm making this video. And they were super helpful. And they all said, oh yeah, like I used to get really bad cramps when I was younger, and this was way worse than that. I did not get bad cramps ever in my life. Like I've gotten cramps, but not super bad. These were the worst menstrual cramps I've ever had in my entire life. But still just menstrual cramps. But like, I couldn't concentrate. I could barely, plus everything started to flow. And I was wearing a pad, because you can't wear a tampon when you're miscarrying, because your cervix is open to let everything out. So there's an increased chance of infection. So you can't use tampons, which I haven't used a pad since I was in high school. And now I remember why, because it's awful. It's awful to be in public and wearing a pad and miscarrying, because it's just a lot of flow. It's very heavy. And you're cramping like no other. So I was actually in a conversation with someone when this all started, and I was trying to like save face, and then finally I was just like, I gotta go. And I like turned off the computer and ran out of the building. And on the way home, I was like, oh my God, I'm gonna throw up. I have like a maybe 15-minute commute. I thought I was gonna have to pull on the side of the highway to throw up because the pain was so bad. But again, it was just like really, really intense menstrual cramps. And then I got home and went straight up to bed. I didn't even take my jacket off. I just got into bed, and I was lying there, and they were getting worse and worse. And it was constant pain. And then all of a sudden, like I would have constant pain, and then it would like peak. It would cramp. So like I had this constant, not low level, constant, pretty bad pain, and then it would like jump up. And I got really, really sick. So I ran to the bathroom, and I was like salivating as if I was going to vomit. And luckily I didn't, but I started to cry, because I don't think I've ever been so miserable in my life, because you're going through this process. It's so painful. I actually don't think it's menstrual cramps. I do think that what I experienced was some low version of prenatal labor, pre-labor cramping, or whatever it's called. I'm totally blanking right now, but it was super intense, and I like texted my husband. I was like, get home now. I like couldn't, he called, I could barely even talk. It was awful. It got to the point where I had to like move, like I had to move, like lying down. I couldn't bear it by moving it. And then all of a sudden a cramp would come and I'd like double over and my legs would shake. Like I was going to fall, like they couldn't hold me up. It was crazy. It was the most crazy experience I've ever had. So my husband finally got home and from work, and he called the doctor. It was like, what is going on? Is this normal? And she was like, yes, this is normal. And once she passes the mass, she'll feel better. Which is basically calling and saying, like, once I lose the baby, I'll feel better. Which is like, just, again, it's awful. Like, there's this emotional side to it, and then there's the physical side to it. And it's just an awful experience. They said that I could take 800 milligrams of Advil, and I'm telling you, it's the most amazing, or of ibuprofen, sorry. It's the most amazing drug I ever, because I could actually feel it start to work, because the pain was that constant and that intense that once it started to kick in, I like felt it subside, and it continued to subside until it was just like menstrual cramps. And totally, you can handle that. And, I could handle the menstrual cramps after it was like an hour of this intensity, which felt like 4 days. So anyway, so that once the pain was gone, I slept. I was exhausted for a little bit, and then I could eat a little bit and drink water and Gatorade. I was like hydrating, trying to stay hydrated because I was losing a lot of blood. Not to the point of like hemorrhaging or anything. They tell you like if you soak more than a pad an hour, that you have to go to the ER, because that means you're hemorrhaging and you're losing too much blood too quickly. And it wasn't that to that level, but it was pretty constant. And you can feel everything, which is so glorious. It just makes the whole experience that much worse, So then I slept that night, and I woke up in the morning. I felt a lot better. I was able to work from home, but I was able to work. And then Wednesday, I was just like spotting, and I was like, oh my God, great, this is over. Like the worst of it is over. I can just move on and, like deal with the emotions of it. Excuse me. And so then on Thursday morning, so this is now Thursday, the 21st. So this is a week and a half after the second ultrasound, and 4 days after I took the pill. So I took the pill Monday. This is Thursday. And oh my God, the cramps started up again. Like I took a shower, got out of the shower, and then all of a sudden the cramps started up bad. Not as bad as Monday, but bad enough that at the first signs of it, I took the Advil 800 milligrams, because I was like, I don't want to even touch that pain again until I'm actually giving birth, right? But then it's happy and not horribly sad. So I was able to I had plans to go out to lunch with my brother, so I went out to lunch, and I wasn't super comfortable because everything started to flow again, but I wasn't in pain. So then I just came home and I just rested for the rest of the day, because clearly something was going on, and I couldn't sleep at all. I was up until 3 a.m., no joke, which is crazy for me. And then I was like, okay, I have to go to sleep, because I had to be up in the morning. And I went to the bathroom. I went to brush my teeth and go to the bathroom. And this is a lot of information, so if you get squeamish, you might want to fast forward this part. I sat down on the toilet to go to pee, and something fell out of me, something that felt large, and it plopped into the toilet. And I I was like, oh my God, that was it. That was the sack. That was my baby falling into the toilet, which of course it wasn't a baby. It was just a bunch of cells. But, you know, for the first moment of finding out you're pregnant, you think of it like a baby. So that was that. It was over. I knew right away. I felt like my whole body felt better, which was crazy. And I think probably I felt relieved that it was over, but I was very, very sad. And I felt like it was so, to flush the toilet was like crazy. But again, trying to tap into that scientist part of me and be like, it was just a bunch of cells. That was never really meant to be. Because of its genetic makeup. And we were lucky to have it just for even a month, as long as we had it. So anyway, so that was that. So the next morning I woke up really tired because from a lack of sleep, but feeling fine and just like really light spotting. And it took about 2 days for the spotting to go away. And I wore like panty liners just in case because it was so erratic. But I was pretty confident that it was over, and it was. So I then had my HCG again on the following Monday, and it was like 800. And then had it one more time, and it was down to like 700 or something like that. So it was reducing. Actually, I'm sorry. I think that was during the week of the miscarriage. It was ended from 800 to 700. And then I just recently had it again, and it was down to 18. So clearly it was, it wasn't quite over while it was happening because it was only reducing a little bit. And then on that Thursday night, it just, the last of the tissue came out. And that's that. So the miscarriage is over. It took about 4 days. It was awful. I'm still dealing with it emotionally. I think during it, it was also a time in my PhD where I was like turning in my thesis. And so I had a lot going on, which, you know, in some ways was bad because I couldn't just like deal with everything, but I think in some ways it was good because it kind of distracted me as well. But now, you know, people bring it, you know, I'm still telling people like who are asking, oh, how's the pregnancy stuff going? And I'm like, actually, and I mean, only close people who are close to me, but, and I notice I get really emotional when I talk about it now, whereas like, even while I was going through it, I was just like, this just sucks. And I was pissed and I was upset about it, but now it's really I'm feeling sad about it. So there's that. I'm sorry, this is a really long video, but I'll just sum up, you know, I'll finish up here, but I think one of the worst things about this miscarriage is like now it's over and I want to move on and I can't. Like we have to use protection. Like I can't even try to get pregnant now because if we do, my uterus is like everything's not ready. My body needs to recover from this. My hormone levels need to go down to 0. My uterus needs to recover and like build its lining back up. And everyone I talk to, you know, all my doctors are like, you have to wait at least 2 months, 2 cycles to try again, which puts us at April, which is just, you know, like even before this experience, before Poppyseed, is what we call him, I wanted it now. And now that I've like tasted what it's like to be pregnant and be happy and have this dream come true, to have to like sit around and do nothing after working so hard towards it for so long is like, I don't know. I feel like it's asking a 2-year-old to sit through an opera. Like it's not fair. Like you just don't do that to someone, to a little 2-year-old, and you don't do it to someone who's trying to get pregnant. But I don't really have a choice. So that's it. So I guess I'm now just focusing on finishing my degree, healing from the, you know, loss and getting my body back into shape. I gained some weight during this whole thing. So some more weight on top of the fertility weight, which is awesome. But I thought it was okay because I thought I was pregnant. So whatever. So now I'll try to lose that just so that I'm as good as I can be in April. And now, we have some time to think about whether we're going to do another IUI because it clearly was successful. It's just that, it wasn't a good embryo, but, we can get pregnant that way. Or whether we just go with the IVF and the frozen embryos we have and just do it. Of course, now that I'm older and I'm just a little worried about my egg quality, especially after this miscarriage. Like, clearly there's some genetic things going on here that make me a little nervous to do IUI, since we know that the embryos we have are genetically normal, chromosomally normal. I just feel like maybe we should just go with what we know. But again, there's the argument that if we want 2 kids and we get pregnant with this embryo, then I'm just that much older later on. So I don't know. We got some time to figure it out. And we'll get some distance from this experience, which has pretty much jaded me from wanting to do any IUI again. Because the doctor said there's a 20% chance of this happening every pregnancy, which is a big percentage. And it's like 1 out of 5 pregnancies, but I don't really want to, I don't know. I just don't really want to take those chances again. So anyway, so that's where I am. That's the story. Not pregnant anymore, which I've pretty much come to terms with. I've certainly been doing my fair amount of drinking to make up for the time that I wasn't drinking, which also doesn't help with the weight gain. But I'm finally, I think, through the thick of it, and I'm starting to exercise again and eat healthy again and be motivated and like looking forward to getting out of bed, which is a big improvement. So yeah, if you guys if anyone is going through this, I'm with you. The bad news is it's really common. The good news is it's really common. So there's guaranteed women in your community that have gone through this or are going through this or have gone through it several times and know what you're going through. And I actually relied on someone in my community to help me through this, and it was incredibly helpful. Just so you know that like you're not alone and everything you're feeling is exactly what they felt, and all the stupid things that people can say to you, and how to handle that, and just how to get through it from experience, from their experience. So, and if you have any questions for me, I am an open book. I'm happy to help in any way I can. But I'm sorry if you're going through this. It's awful. And that's all I can say. I hate when people try to sugarcoat it or put a silver lining on it. My husband's coming down. So I'll say goodbye. Thanks, everyone. And I guess I'll keep you updated on what our decisions will be in the future. Have a good day. Bye.